Okay, let's talk about being forced into the transfer portal. A couple days back, I posted a video and several commenters, and my comment was that most of the football athletes that had entered the transfer portal had entered by choice and not by force. And I got a lot of pushback on that, a lot of pushback with folks just telling me straight out, that's not true. Most athletes are being forced into the portal. So I think there's rampant speculation about this. You know, we can't even agree on how many people are actually in the transfer portal. What are my examples? On3.com, very reputable source, says that 2,296 athletes are in the transfer portal as of Tuesday, January 6th, and that less than 400 of those athletes have committed to new teams. On the other hand, you have now on3.com has pictures of these athletes, names of these athletes, their position, what school they're at, what school they're considering, the whole thing. Okay. Now you have other reporting that says, but from ESPN and others, that say up to 4,500 football athletes, D1 football athletes, have entered the transfer portal. You have CBS Sports saying roughly 3,700 athletes have entered the transfer portal. All of these people cannot be right. And what's so frustrating about this is that this is absolutely knowable. There is a transfer portal database where people are listed who have filed their paperwork to enter the transfer portal. We can't even agree when there is a known absolute source of truth about how many people are in the portal. So how could we possibly agree on what percentage of those people are there by force versus there by choice? The truth is, none of us, including me, actually know what percentage of athletes are in the portal by force as opposed to by choice. And you know why we don't actually know? Because there's no way to count those athletes. There is no objective measure to determine whether someone has indicated that they have been forced in or whether they have chosen to enter the portal. So all of us who are talking about the percentages of folks that are in the portal, most of the people are there by force. A minority of the people are there by force. I even saw some reporting that says roughly 50-50 are there by force versus by choice. All of us are speculating because there is no single source of truth to know that information. Now, we're speculating based on reasonable, assumptions in our own anecdotal experience. So our positions are not uninformed. They simply cannot be conclusive. And because they're all so wildly different and there is no one source of truth, we are all reasonably speculating, but we do not know for sure. What we do know for sure is that roughly 40% of the athletes who hit the portal last year did not come out of the portal, and as I like to say, went home over there to mama's couch, stuck in the portal, going home, getting a job delivering Amazon packages. Okay? Now, it's reasonable to believe that that percentage could actually be higher this year. Now, you're like, why do you say that? Because one of the avenues that an athlete could indicate that they had exited the transfer portal previously, in previous years, was that they chose to walk on and were accepted as a walk-on at another school. And walk-ons are gone. 0. 105 fixed roster slots. It's not about how many scholarships. Used to be 80 some odd scholarships. You could have as many roster slots as you wanted. And people would fill them with walk-ons. That's gone. So the opportunity to exit the portal because you entered another team as a as a walk-on is over. So it is reasonable to believe, we shall see, that the number of athletes not exiting the portal, getting stuck over there on mama's couch, will actually grow because the demand is greater for a fixed number of slots than in previous years. We'll see. Now, let's talk about what being forced actually means. I think there are two definitions to being forced. There's the first one, which I call actually being forced. And that's this thing what happens in this end of year meeting that we all understand happens, and that many people have talked about on social media, either from their own experience or anecdotal information, where the athlete goes into the meeting with the coach at the end of the year, and that athlete is advised that their services will no longer be needed after the end of that school year, and that their scholarship will not be renewed. That athlete is forced into the portal because they have been told point blank, we are not renewing your scholarship next year. Actually forced into the portal. Okay? Now, the most notable example of being forced into the portal is when Coach Prime showed up at Colorado and had a meeting with all the athletes in the team room and said, all y'all might as well hit the portal because I'm getting a new crop of folks. Okay, told everybody at one time, this is the meeting. Hit the portal. The largest example of just kind of one time, all y'all need to go, hit the portal. That's the most notable example. Now, those folks are actually forced. But there's a group of people that feel forced. And what do I mean? It means that they believe that things have happened to them that require them to enter the portal, though no one has told them they need to enter the portal. There's a couple of classes of people. There are those athletes that are subject to coaching changes. So the coach up and leaves, and the athletes feel completely at risk. And so they're like, I'm leaving. I'm hitting the portal. Now, some small subset of those athletes might actually go to the school where the coach is moving to, but most of those athletes don't. So they aren't actually forced when there's a coaching change. They just feel forced that they need to make a move because the environment that they thought they would have has suddenly changed. That's the first group. The second group is what I call the roster overload, or too many people in the position room group. It's like, is too many running backs in this room? I'm never getting on the field. Is too many QBs on this room? I'm never getting on the field. Pick your position. It's too many of them. And so I believe that the depth at certain positions, at that position, is too great for me as an athlete to have success. And so I have not been told through this end of year meeting that I need to exit, but I feel forced by what I see happening in the position room. Okay, roster overload. Now, there's also the group that feels forced because they believe that NIL money is being left on the table and they can get a richer deal if they go someplace else. They aren't actually forced. They are feeling forced by the circumstances and the environment. There's the group of people, athletes, that wants more playing time, and they believe the only way they can get more playing time is to pick up and go someplace else. They feel forced. They are not actually forced. Okay. And there's the group of athletes that just believes that the way that the offensive or defensive scheme has played out is not a good fit for their skills. They have not been advised that they need to leave the program. They have not been advised that their scholarship will not be renewed, but they feel forced to enter the portal. None of these athletes are actually being forced. They just feel like they need to make a move. I'm not judging whether they need to make a move or not. I'm just distinguishing between the two groups of people, those who are actually forced into the portal and those who feel they need to go into the portal. Now, those folks are entering by choice, not actually being forced into the portal. Okay. As always, I want as few people as possible to end up over there on Mama's couch. I'm concerned that we're going to end up with a lot of people there, but I'm prayerful in the next 10 days or so, something will shake itself out for most of these athletes. Anyway, I'm always interested to know what you think. Let me know.